Thank you for this opportunity.
नमस्कार आप सभी को स्वागत है रविवार के प्रातः सत्र में। चैंटिंग सर के आवाज से होगी। ओवर टू यू सर।
हम नमो तस्स तक तो पाली में करेंगे, फिर जो त्रिरत्न विवेचन है वो हम दोनों भाषाओं में करेंगे। सो भगवा संबुद्धो साधतो भगवता सुपरिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावक संघो धर्मयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससंघं हे सकारे तथायं कालो पितेभितुचिरम् साधुनो मन्ते भगवान् सुचिरपरिणुतोऽपि राज्यमाजनतानुकम्पमानसा ये सकारे भुगतपणाकारभूते प्रतिगृह्णातु संघावन्ति भरतं विहाय सुखाय अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवान् बुद्धं भगवन्तं प्रतिभाति आखातो भगवता धम्मो वन्दनस्सामि परिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि। अन्नमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो बुद्धभाग्नमकारं करोमासे नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। ओके, सो त्रिरत्न विवेचन है पेज नंबर
10।
हाँ, आपके उसमें 10 में है।
नहीं, आपके में 10 में निखिल जी शोइंग स्क्रीन।
अन्नमयं रत्नत्रय प्रणामदाभायो जीव संवेद परिकृतं पाठं च बनामसे बुद्धो सुशुद्धो करुणामयो यो शन्तशुद्धपरज्ञानलोचनो वन्दामि बुद्धं ब्रह्मादरेण तम्। भगवान बुद्ध हैं परिशुद्ध करुणा के महासागर, अति शुद्ध ज्ञान के चक्षु। मैं उन भगवान बुद्ध की सादर वंदना करता हूँ। नमो सदीपो वियतस्य सद्गुणो यो मग्गपाकमतभेदभिन्नको यो उत्तरो यो च तदर्थदीपनो वन्दामि धम्ममहमादरेण तम्। उन शास्त्र का धम्म दीप की भांति है जो मार्ग, फल और निर्वाण में विभाजित है, जो लोकातीत है और उस ध्येय को प्रकाशित करता है। मैं उस धम्म की सादर वंदना करता हूँ। संघो सुखेत खेत संतो यो दिट्ठ संतो सुदान बोधको लोलपहिन्नो प्रियो सुमेधसो वन्दामि संघं आदरेण तम्। भगवान का संग जो साधना हेतु फलदायक धम्म क्षेत्र है, जिन्होंने भगवान बुद्ध के बाद बोधि प्राप्त कर शांति का साक्षात्कार किया, आकांक्षाओं को त्याग मेधावी आर्यविद ने, उस संघ की मैं सादर वंदना करता हूँ। इच्छेव में कंत अभिपूजनीयकं वत्सुतयं वन्दयताभिसंकृतं पुण्यं मयायं मम सद्गुणोद्भवा माहोन्तु एतस्य प्रभाव सिद्धिया। श्री रत्न जो उच्चतम वंदना के योग्य है, उनकी इस प्रकार पूजा करने के पुण्य के प्रभाव से मेरे कोई क्लेश उत्पन्न न हो। यदि तथागतो लोके उपन्नो अहं समासंवृद्धो सम्मोचते सितो ज्ञानिको उपसंविको परिनिप्पानिको संबोधगामी सुगतपवैतो। इस लोक में तथागत अरहंत सम्यक संबुद्ध उत्पन्न हुए हैं और ऐसा धर्म सिखाया जो मुक्ति की ओर ले जाता है, परम शांति की ओर ले जाता है, निर्वाण की ओर ले जाता है, संबोधि की ओर ले जाता है, जिसे सुगत भगवान बुद्ध ने प्रकाशित किया। मयंतं धम्मं श्रुत्वा एवं जानामि जाति दुःखं जापि दुःखं दुःखं शोक परिदेव दुःख दोमनस्य पायासापि दुःखा अप्येहि संप्रयोगो दुःखो येहि विप्रयोगो दुःखो लभते तं दुःखं संकीर्तेन पंचुपादान खंडा दुःखा। हम उस धम्म को सुनकर ऐसा समझें, जन्म भी दुख है, बुढ़ापा भी दुख है, मृत्यु भी दुख है, शोक, बंधन, शारीरिक और मानसिक पीड़ा और निराशा भी दुख है। प्रियों का साथ दुख है, प्रियों का वियोग दुख है, इच्छाओं का प्राप्त न होना दुख है। संक्षेप में पांचों खंडों से आसक्ति दुख है। उपादान खंडो वेदनुपादान खंडो संयोपादान खंडो उपादान खंडो उपादान खंडो। ये हैं रूप खंड से आसक्ति, वेदना खंड से आसक्ति, संज्ञा खंड से आसक्ति, संस्कार खंड से आसक्ति, इंद्रियों के विज्ञान खंड से आसक्ति। ये संपरिन्याय मानोऽसो भगवान् एवं बहुलं सावके विनेति। इनका संपूर्ण ज्ञान धारण करने के लिए भगवान ने अपने जीवन काल में बार बार श्रावकों को इसी प्रकार समझाया। एवं भागाच्च भगवतो सावकेषु अनुशासने बहुलः प्रवर्तते। रूपं अनित्यं ज्ञानानित्यं संज्ञानित्यं संस्कारानित्यं विवरणानित्यं। भगवान ने कई बार श्रावकों की शिक्षा के इस भाग पर बल दिया। रूप नित्य है, नित्य है, संस्कार नित्य है, संस्कार नित्य है, इंद्रियों का विज्ञान नित्य है। रूपं अनत्ता, वेदना अनत्ता, संज्ञा अनत्ता, संस्कारा अनत्ता, विज्ञानं अनत्ता। रूप अनात्म है, वेदना अनात्म है, संज्ञा अनात्म है, संसार अनात्म है, का विज्ञानात्म है। सर्वे संखारा नित्या सर्वे धर्मा अनित्याति। ये मयंगोचना महाजातिया जरा मरणी नस्तो वेहि परिदेवेहि दुःखेहि रोमस्तेहि उपायासेहि दुःखोचना दुःखभरिता। केवलमस्य केवलस्य दुःखखण्डस्य अन्तर्क्रियापन्याये साति। ये संसार नित्य है, सभी धर्म अनात्म है। हम सब जन्म बुढ़ापा मृत्यु से बंधे हैं और शोक क्रंदन शारीरिक और मानसिक पीड़ा निराशा जैसे दुखों से पीड़ित और बंधे हैं। आए हम इस सारे दुख समूह के अंत को जान सकने का संकल्प करें। चिर परिनिब्बुतं पितं भगवन्तं दुस्सरहन्तं सम्मा सम्बुद्धं सद्दागारस्नानगार्यं पद्मजिता अस्मिन् भगवति ब्रह्मचर्यं चरामः। गुणं शिक्षा सा जीव समापना पंखो ब्रह्मचर्यस्य केवलस्य दुःखखण्डस्य अन्तक्रिया संवर्तते। यद्यपि अरहं सम्यक संबुद्ध भगवान का परिनिर्वाण बहुत समय पहले हुआ, उनके प्रति श्रद्धा से हम अपने घर से निकल प्रवर्जित हुए। हम उन भगवान की भांति पवित्र जीवन जीने का अभ्यास करते हैं, जो के प्रशिक्षण एवं आजीविका से संपन्न। यह पवित्र जीवन हमें सारे दुख समूह के अंत की ओर ले जाए। भगवन्तं शरणं तस्य भगवतो शासनं विकासति यथा मनसि करोमि संसारोपरिपति वस्य केवलस्य दुःखखण्डस्य अन्तर्क्रिया संवर्तते। हम भगवान जो बहुत समय पहले परिनिर्वाण को प्राप्त हुए एवं धम्म और संघ की शरण में रहे हैं, उन भगवान की शिक्षा को मन में रखकर हम यथाशक्ति इसका पालन करते हैं। इस मार्ग का प्रतिपादन हमें इस संपूर्ण दुख समूह के अंत की ओर ले जाए।
थैंक यू बंटी जी, थैंक यू सर। आज हमें भिक्षुओं के लिए पाठ और गृहस्थों के लिए पाठ दोनों सुनने का अवसर मिला। As far as I know, Prakash ji would be doing the बुक रीडिंग टुडे। तो थोड़ा सा जानकारी रख लेते हैं, फिर हम ध्यान में बैठते हैं। प्रकाश जी, आपका प्लान क्या है? आप पहले पीपीटी प्रेजेंट करेंगे।
Namaste, good morning all. Namaste, Nikhil ji. So I will be summarizing what we read last week in a Word document or PPT. Then we will continue using the book and reading online together.
You want me to share the book or you will share the screen?
I will share it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Prakash ji. So we can meditate for next 45. साइलेंट मेडिटेशन का टाइम हुआ. So I request Prakash ji to take forward the session.
Okay, thank you, Nikhil ji.
So maybe Prakash ji, just before you start, I'll just give a little background. So Prakash ji is going to use a slightly different format today. So हमने सोचा that it's worth he had a few proposals. तो उसके हिसाब से उन्होंने तैयारी की है. So let's see how this is for us, and then we can see कि हमें इसी तरीके से करना है या we go back to our traditional style. So it will be slightly different. And I would really like to acknowledge yesterday he's been working quite hard to prepare what he's going to now share with us. So much anumodana to Prakash ji for this effort that helps us all become better familiar with the vast teachings of the Buddha. So please, Prakash ji, carry on.
Thank you, Bhante ji. Namaste once all, everyone. From last week discussion, I'm just summarizing what we really discussed. So still we are discussing on general instruction, uncovering the structure of the teaching. Last week we discussed this Buddha teachings are systematic but not compiled in a single text, and these teachings were adopted on occasions and depending upon the audience. And the teaching also in a
Prakash ji, can you increase the font size? ये छोटा दिख रहा होगा कहीं.
Sure. Is okay?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay. So this teaching in an oral culture, there was no aim for conceptual completeness. It means it focused on practical training, self-transformation, and realization of the truth. And some discourses provided broad views of the Dhamma. Some discourses are overarching. That's a kind of scheme. The purpose of the book was developing a comprehensive scheme for understanding Buddha's teaching and using suttas from four major collections of the Pali Canon. And it has got threefold purpose. One is welfare and happiness in this life, and also welfare and happiness in the future lives, and the Nibbana, reaching the Nibbana ultimate goal. So basically, this book has chapters like first 1 to 3 chapters speaks about the human condition pre-Buddha, and Buddha's descent and first teaching and unique features of Buddha's teaching. That is the 3 chapters has got. Then followed by the 4th chapter will have ethical norms for family, livelihood, and community. And Bhagavan promoted social harmony and ethical livings. That is covered in chapter 4. And the chapter 5th, the merit accumulation through giving, moral discipline, and meditation, and the rebirth and success in the future. That is covered in chapter 5th. Further it is a transition to ultimate good. That's basically the Nibbana, and exposing dangers of conditioned existence and highlighting the perils of samsara to aspire for Nibbana. So that is in the future chapters covers. And also it covers overview of noble eightfold path, monastic training, and focus on mental development, overcoming those obstacles. And it also covers the right view, 5 aggregates, dependent origination, and Nibbana has the ultimate goal. We also discussed last week about how the Nikaya, origins of Nikaya started. It's a Pali Canon, and it orally transmitted and later compiled by the monastic councils. And as we all know, Buddha taught verbally, and he was wandering through towns and engaging with various people. And his teachings were mainly memorized by his disciples. And post his Parinibbana, these teachings were preserved through monastic councils. The first council held 3 months after Bhagavan Parinibbana, and where Mahakashyapa invited 500 monks gathered in Rajagraha. And Vinaya Pitaka was compiled and recited by Upalis, and Ananda recited the Sutta part. So that's how Vinaya Pitaka and Sutta Pitaka was compiled. And early category, it was the 9 categories like Suttas, Gathas, and Jatakas. And later it's actually created as a Nikayas. So over a time, these categories reorganized largely collection called Nikayas, and one of the school of thought is Theravada tradition. And North Indian, it is Agamas. In the name of Agamas, it was compiled. So the role of Ananda and monastic specialist, the Ananda Buddha's personal attendant, he was a pivotal in preserving this teaching due to his exceptional memory and extensive training. And monks began to specialize in special text and facilitating the preservation and transmission of the teaching. So these teachings were memorized and passed down through specialized companies within the Sangha. So later, this Sangha, after Buddha's Parinibbana, Sangha had split into numerous. It is told in this introduction about 18 splits or 18 different school of thoughts were there. So each schools had its own collection of text, though the content remained largely consistent across. And the doctoral principles across more from the interpretation of the text by various schools rather than from the text themselves actually. And these interpretations were formalized in commentaries and treatises and aimed at aligned to the original text within the school's doctrine view. So this is majorly we discussed, and we also touched upon the Pali canon. It is why it is important. There are 3 reasons it is important, because it is a complete collection, all belongs to one school of thought, that's Theravada, and the entire collection has preserved the language which Bhagavan himself spoke actually. And the Pali canon has special importance because the collection is authoritative for a contemporary school of thought or Buddhist school. So unlike the textual collection of the extinct school of early Buddhism. So this is what we so far read in the last weeks. So the next part, I'll be sharing what I have just summarized using a small presentation to save our time also, so that we can go to the next first chapter to start. So, Nikhilji, can you see this screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the continuation of the introduction, where the Pali canon and overview is mentioned in the introduction. Basically, as we all know, the Tripitaka, the 3 baskets, the Pali canon is known as Tripitaka, and used by various schools to categorize canonical texts, including the Chinese translation. It is called in Chinese Tripitaka. So majorly there are 3 baskets. Vinaya Pitaka, it is compilation of the discipline. It contains rules for monks and nuns. It prescribes regulation for the harmonious functioning of the monastic order. The Sutta Pitaka, compilation of the discourses. It contains Buddha's discourses and also his chief disciples' discourses. So which includes inspirational work in the verse narratives and commentaries. And the third one is Abhidhamma Pitaka. So Abhidhamma Pitaka has consist of 7
Prakashji, your slides are not along with your speech.
Okay, I will go slow then. But
No. What I mean is that the display is not keeping pace with what you are saying.
Okay.
We've gone to Abhidhamma, but we are still seeing the first slide.
Okay. There may be then the network issue.
Well, it's now come because you've gone there. So
Okay.
I think I need to click on slideshow.
Sorry, I could not hear you.
Prakashji, yeah, you can click that where that your arrow is no, you can click that sign, and then you can just move the slide along with your speech. Yeah, this one where the 64% is written, no? Right
Okay.
side down.
Nikhilji, I think he's sharing the window, not the entire screen. So the slideshow won't come up.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we can see the full slide, right? Can go for the full slide.
Entire screen I'm selected and
Ah.
sharing it. Now let me know. Is it okay now?
Now you can click on slideshow.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you. And Abhidhamma Pitaka, it consists of 7 treatises, which means the different piece of writing dealing with a particular subject. And Bhagavan teaching to a rigorous philosophical systemization that is covered here. And also, it's actually later part of the canon which was created, and it also represents Theravada school's attempt to systemize older teaching. And the 5 Nikayas, the Sutta Pitaka, which contains the records of Buddha's discourses and the other disciples, and it consists of 5 collections. And Diga Nikaya, which has long discourses, Majjhima Nikaya, middle length discourses, and Samyukta Nikaya, it is a connected discourses, and Anguttara Nikaya, numerical discourses. Another one is added later, Kundaka Nikaya, the minor collection. Diga Nikaya and Majjhima Nikaya, it's basically aimed at popular audience and demonstrating Buddha's teaching and superiority, which has 34 suttas arranged into 3 Vaggas or the books. And Majjhima Nikaya, which is more focused on directed inwards and also the Buddhist acquiring the new monks with doctrine and the practice. So the collection of middle length discourses has 152 suttas arranged in 3 Vaggas. And the Samyukta Nikaya, which is close to 3,000 short suttas grouped into 56 chapters. And basis on the subject, it has been organized, and it also contains long chapters on the key doctrines of the early Buddhism, and it serves a doctoral specialist and those focused on meditative insight. Each subject is called yoke, samyoga, that connects the discourses into samyutta or the chapter. So, hence the title of the collection is called Connected or Samyukta Nikaya. So, and this text has arranged in 11 chapters, like dependent origination, 5 aggregates, and 6 internal and external sense bases, and 37 heights to enlightenment, noble enfold path, 7 factors of enlightenment, and 4 establishment of mindfulness, and so on and so forth. And this also basically serves the 2 groups, both monks and the meditators, who get into the Nibbana. So the another one is Anguttara Nikaya. So to facilitate easy comprehension and the memorization, Bhagavan often formulated his discourses way of numerical sets, and approximately there are 2,400 short suttas arranged into 11 chapters actually. This includes the suttas addressed to the lay followers on ethical and spiritual concerns of the like family relationship, husband or wife, children, parents, and proper way to acquire and save the wealth. So those kind of chapters are the included here. And also this has got formal instruction and sermons and practical training for the monks. So that is what is contained in Anguttara Nikaya. And Kuddaka Nikaya, this is actually a 5th Nikaya, so it means the minor collection. Maybe originally consisted merely of a number of minor works that could not be included in previous 4 Nikayas. I think that is the reason this would have been added. The most some of the collections which like Dhammapada and other details are added here, and it contains the mix of ancient short works and also later compositions. So that is basically covered in the Kuddaka Nikaya. So with this, actually, general introduction is completed in this book. The first one is the chapter 1, the human conditions. I'll pause here if something can be discussed or shared, any of the feedback. Okay. Can I move on, sir, Banteji?
Raji, please. I think there are no
Okay.
questions or.
Okay. Let me know, can you see this PDF document now? Okay.
Into the text, then we'll know better if it's too small or. Okay.
Okay. I think this is what I can do. So the chapter 1 is called the human condition. This chapter also has got introduction before we actually getting into the reading the chapter. So we will be reading the chapter 1 introduction basically. Okay. So, like other religious teaching, the Buddha's teaching originates as a response to the strains at the heart of human conditions. What distinguishes his teaching from other religious approaches to the human condition is directness, thoroughness, and uncompromising realism with which he looks at these strains. The Buddha does not offer us palliatives that leave the underlying maladies untouched beneath the surface. Rather, he traces our existential illness down to its most fundamental causes, so persistent and destructive, and shows us how these can be totally uprooted. However, while Dhamma will eventually lead to the wisdom that eradicates the cause of suffering, it does not begin there but with observations about the hard facts of everyday experiences. Here, too, its directness, thoroughness, and tough realism are evident. The teaching begins by calling upon us to develop a faculty called Yoniso Manasikara, careful attention. Buddha asks us to stop drifting thoughtless, thoughtlessly through our lives and instead to pay careful attention to simple truths that are everywhere available to us, clamoring for sustained consideration they deserve. So basically, this paragraph says Bhagavan teaching is uh, directness and thoroughness and uncompromising on the reality, means basically truthful. So, and also teaching begins by calling upon develop the faculty of Yoniso Manasikara. It means careful attention. And Bhagwan asks us to stop drifting thoughtlessly through our lives and instead pay careful attention to whatever simple things happens around us actually, with aging and death and some of the messages what we really get in our day-to-day life. So that is basically in this paragraph is mentioned.
So one question that often comes to my mind is what should be our attitude towards what he's calling palliatives? Because often the teaching is used, in fact, as a palliative. So I wonder if there is. I wonder if there is any view that friends have. Palliatives मतलब तो कुछ हल्का फुल्का ठीक ठाक कर लो rather than eradication. In fact, it's something that often our teachers do speak about, that हमें like it's में colloquially कि हमें बस यही करते रहना है या उसको खत्म करना है. So I think it's a, for me at least, it's a useful bookmark. It's a useful reminder that the actual purpose is that, and to also use the proximate steps simply as a means, and to remember to not confuse it as the end. Okay, Prakash ji, I don't think there's any.
Okay, thank you, Bhante ji.
I want to say, Bhante जी, ये जो पैलेटिव वर्ड से पहली बार मैं इसको इनकाउंटर कर रहा हूँ, इसका हिंदी अर्थ मैंने देखा, ये बहुत मुझे इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है, क्योंकि मैं यही मतलब ज्यादातर समय ये मैं अपने ऊपर नोटिस करता हूँ. कई बार क्या होता है कि सोल्यूशन ढूंढने की बजाय मन को बहलाना, सोशल मीडिया में बहला लेना, या और आई मीन नॉट जस्ट मी, मुझे लगता है मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर डूइंग दिस. तो ये पैलेटिव वर्ड काफी एक तो नॉलेज बढ़ाने के लिए है, और ये एक तरह से सोचने पर मजबूर करने वाला है.
यहाँ पे पैलिएटिव का ऐसे इस्तेमाल किया गया है, जैसे कई बार बताते हैं ना कि भाई आप कुछ मेडिटेशन कर लो, कुछ स्ट्रेस कम हो गया, या सर दर्द ठीक कर लो, या स्टूडेंट की मार्क्स ठीक नहीं आ रहे तो कंसंट्रेशन बढ़ा लो. यहाँ उस प्रकार का इसका तात्पर्य है कि जब भगवान बुद्ध ने ये बताया तो उन वर्ल्डली मकसदों से उसको नहीं बताया. That's the point.
ओके, और मैं भंते जी गृहस्थों के पर्सपेक्टिव से बता रहा हूँ. मेरे साथ जैसे मन में उलझन है तो ऑटोमेटिकली हाथ चला जाता है मोबाइल की तरफ, चलो चेक कर लेते हैं व्हाट्सएप में क्या आया है, चलो फेसबुक में क्या है, नहीं, विदाउट एनी रीजन, जस्ट बिकॉज कि मन में उलझन है. उस उलझन को देखने का मन नहीं करता. मेरे साथ नहीं, मेरी जो छोटी भांजी है उसके साथ भी वही है. वो सिर दर्द हो रहा है, आईफोन खोलेगी और मूवी देखना शुरू कर देगी. तो ये जो है कि हम उसको देख नहीं पाते, देखने में बड़ा कष्ट होता है, तो उसको रहने दो और मन को बहला लो, और वो समय निकल जाता है, और फिर वो चाय पीने का समय हो जाएगा तो हम उठ जाएंगे, और वो जो उलझन थी वहीं की वहीं रह जाती है. तो मेरे तो जीवन में मतलब जेन्युइन स्टफ है जिनको मुझे सॉल्व करना है, और बच्चों के लिए भी बता रहा हूँ मैं. वो मेरी भांजी ने मुझे आज बोला, वो सुबह 4 बजे जाग रही थी, रात को 8 बजे मूवी देख रही थी आईफोन पर. तो उसको पता ही नहीं है कि अंदर क्या है और कैसे जीवन को जीना है. और ये शायद मुझे लगता है यंगस्टर्स की प्रॉब्लम बढ़ती ही जा रही है. ये पैलिएटिव्स वर्ड बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया है. पहले जब मोबाइल नहीं था तो आई डोंट नो तो कैसे जीवन बिताते थे, मतलब मैंने बिताया है, बट आई जस्ट वंडर नाउ.
यार ऐसी बात नहीं.
I think क्वेश्चन आप शायद थोड़ा गलत समझे. यहाँ पे पैलिएटिव्स का मतलब ये है कि जो टीचिंग्स हैं उन्हें लोग एज पैलिएटिव्स यूज करते हैं, कि माइंडफुलनेस कर लोगे तो स्ट्रेस रिडक्शन हो जाएगा, माइंडफुलनेस कर लोगे तो कंसंट्रेशन बढ़ जाएगी, and so on and so forth, right? So I think that the question was from that standpoint.
ओके, नहीं ठीक है. मैंने ना डिक्शनरी में इसका अर्थ देखा, समस्या का समाधान प्राप्त ना होना, वस्तुतः समस्या का समाधान प्राप्त ना होना, ऐसा लिखा है. तो समस्या का समाधान नहीं मिल रहा है, मतलब कि आप समस्या का समाधान शायद ढूंढना मुश्किल पड़ रहा है, तो आप उस समय मन को बहला लेना. तो ये मैं गृहस्थों के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बोल रहा हूँ कि ऑफिस में कुछ है, पार्टी चले गए, चलो ठीक है भूल जाते हैं, फिर अगले दिन आ गए. तो मैंने डिक्शनरी वाला हिंदी मीनिंग देखा. डिक्शनरी में लिखा है वस्तुतः समस्या का समाधान ना मिलना.
That is not called palliative care. That is called distraction. Palliative care
अच्छा.
specialized term. जो मेडिसिन में जो टर्मिनली इल होते हैं,
Yes.
उसको जैसे उसको मालूम है कि बचेगा नहीं, तो कहा जाता है इसको पैलिएटिव केयर में डाल दो. तो इतना करो कि इसके दर्द कम हो जाए, सिम्टम्स कम हो जाए, बचना तो है नहीं. That is what is meant by palliative care, means treating symptoms rather than curing the disease, because disease is incurable. That is the sense. और ये सारे हॉस्पिटल जो बने हैं जहाँ पे कि टर्मिनली इल लोगों को रखा जाता है, वही पैलिएटिव केयर होती है. पैलिएटिव केयर मतलब सिम्टम्स कम कर दो, दर्द है ज़्यादा है, उल्टी आ रही है, उसको कुछ कर दो, क्योंकि बचना तो है ही नहीं.
So in a sense, we are all terminally ill. हम बचने वाले नहीं है, यहाँ से कोई बच के जाता नहीं, तो हम भी सिम्टम्स को ही ट्रीट करते हैं। तो भगवान की शिक्षा में आके भी अगर हम सिम्टम ही ट्रीट करेंगे छोटे बच्चे को, तो क्या हम कह सकते हैं? हम तो साधकों की बात हो रही है। जो साधक है वो भी क्या दुख के कारण की ओर जा रहे हैं, या ऊपर से दुख हटा लो यार कुछ कर रहे हैं? जो आप कह रहे हैं वो डिस्ट्रैक्शन है, यू आर रनिंग अवे फ्रॉम इट, बट दिस इज डूइंग मेडिटेशन। जैसे माइंडफुलनेस हो रही है आजकल, माइंडफुलनेस बेस्ड स्ट्रेस रिडक्शन। You're not changing, but you're not changing the view at all, because the suffering will end by changing the view, not by mere mindfulness. That is only a palliative way. That's only changing symptoms. That is the thing.
But that's the meditation भी तो ऐसे यूज हो रही है to be quite.
I made it like very, I made it the mindfulness-based stress reduction in many cases confines only to that. Stress कम कर दो, स्ट्रेस का रूट कॉज क्या है वो नहीं देखते।
So basically addressing the root cause of the problem, isn't it, sir?
As you mentioned, Yoniso Manasikara means giving attention to the root. That is his teaching is giving attention to the root, not to the symptoms only.
Yes.
Ending symptoms की किसी तरह से symptoms थोड़े कम हो जाए।
तो सर जैसे आजकल लोगों का मन नहीं लगता और आपने देखा होगा कि माइंडलेसली वो लोग सर्फ करते हैं, है ना? तो और वो चूंकि अंदर उलझन है और उसको डिस्ट्रैक्ट करने के लिए वो माइंडलेसली सर्फ कर रहे हैं, तो वो आप उसको राहत तो मिल जाती है, ऐसा नहीं कि वो राहत नहीं मिलती, उनको राहत मिल जाती है, अदरवाइज दे विल गो क्रेजी। तो वो भी तो आप कह सकते हैं ना कि एक मटेरियल पैलिएटिव्स की बात हो गई कि नहीं तो मैं भाई मेरे को कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा, मैं अकेला बैठ नहीं सकता, लाओ मैं मोबाइल ही स्क्रॉल कर ले। वो भी तो एक पैलिएटिव ही हो गया ना, क्योंकि हम समस्या के समाधान तक तो गए नहीं, लेकिन राहत मिल गई, वो समय बीत गया।
कह लीजिए उसमें शब्द में क्या जाना है, you don't need to go into the meaning of the word. You can take it like that. The issue is, this is a technical word nowadays very commonly used in medicine, and it is most appropriate fitting here कि आप symptoms को handle कर रहे हैं कि root cause को जाना है। भगवान की जो पहली शिक्षा है वो यही है, दुख को समझना है। हम समझना ही नहीं चाहते तो फिर क्या हो सकता है? तो भगवान की शिक्षा नहीं कर रहे, कुछ और कर रहे हैं। The very first discourse she gave was Four Noble Truths, and then he said what should be done, suffering should be understood, cause should be abandoned. हमने सफरिंग अंडरस्टैंड ही नहीं की तो काज कहाँ से पता चलेगा? तो फिर वो कुछ भी कर लो, तो ट्रेडिशनली चला ही आ रहा है ना। आज सर्फ करते थे, पहले कुछ और करते थे। ऐसा थोड़ा है कि सफरिंग अभी मोबाइल के बाद ही आई है, पहले भी।
बट दरअसल यहाँ पॉइंट ये है ना कि टीचिंग्स जो हैं, सेटिंग असाइड मोबाइल वगैरह, द मोबाइल फोन इज नॉट द बुद्धा's टीचिंग, है ना? यहाँ तो जैसे मुझे समझ आ रही है वो ये कह रहे हैं कि द टीचिंग्स आर नॉट मेंट टू बी पैलिएटिव्स। तो टीचिंग्स का जब हम यूज करते हैं उस तरीके से उस पे हमें कॉशन किया जाए, जैसे मैं समझ रहा हूँ। ऑफ कोर्स जो निखिल कह रहे हैं वो ठीक बात है, but as I understand, the point here is to caution ourselves to not downgrade the teachings merely to use them as means of handling difficulties of life.
Yes, agree Bantu. Yeah.
So solving the problem at the surface level, that's not the main purpose.
I think that's the point in that line.
मुझे तो caution नहीं दिख रहा है इसमें।
Exactly. Because Buddha also teaches palliatives in many cases. He also teaches us to go out from the situation when we're not able to handle this, that. But those are kind of
Expedient means.
firefighting measures, as I used to say. That is not his main teaching. So if you focus on just that and leave aside others, then we'll be shortchanging his teaching. It is happening. The whole attempt many places is just that. वो ये बता रहे हैं कि भगवान की टीचिंग पैलिएटिव नहीं है, वो रूट कॉज को हैंडल करता है और अपनी इच्छा है क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना। वो हमारी जीवन की फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम है, उसको सॉल्व करने की बात।
Okay, so if there is no comments, I will move on to the next paragraph. One of the most obvious and inescapable of this truth is also among the most difficult for us to fully acknowledge, namely that we are bound to grow old, fall ill, and die. It is commonly assumed that the beckons us Buddha beckons us to recognize the reality of old age, death, in order to motivate us to enter the path of renunciation leading to Nibbana, complete liberation from the round of birth and death. However, while this may be his ultimate intention, it is not the first response he seeks to evoke in us when we turn to him for guidance. The initial response the Buddha intends to arouse in us is an ethical alone. By calling our attention to our bondage to old age and death, he seeks to inspire in us a firm resolution to turn away from unwholesome ways of living and embrace instead wholesome alternatives. So, this paragraph basically tells us um, the two aspects. One is fully acknowledge the how we grow old, fall ill, and die. That is one point. The second was Bhagwan intends us focus on ethical one, both on the unwholesome and the wholesome activities. Um, I think that leads to the next part of the path actually. So there are sutta included in the chapter on this old age and death and fall ill. In the chapter detail, it is explained. So the next paragraph, again Buddha grounds his initial ethical appeals not only upon compassionate feeling for others beings, but also upon our instinctive concern for our own long-term welfare and happiness. So he tries to make us see that to act in accordance with ethical guidance will enable us to secure our own well-being both now and in the long-term future. His argument hinges on the important premise that actions have consequences. If we are to alter our accustomed ways, we must be convinced of the validity of this principle. Specifically, to change from a self stultifying way of life to one that is truly fruitful and inwardly rewarding, we must realize that our actions have consequences for ourselves, consequences that can be rebound upon us both in this life and in consequent lives. So the ethical appeal not just only for self and also for not for only a current situation, it is also long-term welfare and happiness. That is the meaning here, and our actions have a consequences, and that consequences both in this current life and also future lives. So that is the meaning of summary of this paragraph. So there are three suttas that constitute the first section in this chapter, establish this point eloquently. Each one in its own way, which enumerates the inevitable law that all beings who have taken birth must undergo aging and death. Although the first glance, the discourse seems to be starting a mere fact of nature by citing as example members of the upper strata of society, like wealthy rulers, Brahmins, and householders, and liberated Arahant, it insinuates a subtle moral message into its words. The second text brings out this message more explicitly with its impressive smile of the mountain, uh, which drives home the point that when aging and death are rolling in on us, our task in life is to live righteously and do wholesome and meritorious deeds. The Sutta on Divine Messages establishes the corollary to this. When we fail to recognize the divine messages in our midst, we miss the hidden warning signals of old age, illness, and death. We become negligent and behave recklessly, creating unwholesome karma with the potential to yield dreadful consequences.
He's now going to the sutta.
Sorry, Bantaji?
No, nothing. There was a question here whether we are doing. I just clarified that you will jump ahead to the sutta now.
Yeah. So this there are three suttas basically discussing about aging and death, and even arahants has to pass away. That is a meaning. Wealthy ruler or Brahmin householders are the liberated beings also has to pass away. That is a message in this sutta. And there will be always we get a message by seeing in our society aging, death, or the challenges they go through it, but they still pass away. So that is basically different divine messages is mentioned basically here. Maybe when we get into that sutta, we'll get into more information on that. But basically it says we fail to recognize those messages and regularly we experience or we go through it or we observe it, but out of negligence actually, we still create a unwholesome karma. It has a negative impact on present life and also future life. So that is a summary of this paragraph.
Are you going to go to the sutta after the next paragraph, Prakash ji?
No, this is introduction of this chapter, Banteji.
Yeah, I know. But what we want to do is, now that you have explained to us the suttas, we want to go to the suttas first.
Okay.
The full introduction.
I can go there. I'll just go to there. The introduction is also very lengthy. Okay, so the first sutta says aging and death. At Savatthi, King Pasane Nadi of Kosala said to the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, is anyone who is born free from aging and death? Bhagavan replied, Great King, no one who is born is free from aging and death. Even those affluent Katyas, rich with great wealth and property, with abundant gold and silver, abundant treasures and commodities, abundant wealth and grain, because they have been born are not free from aging and death. Even those affluent Brahmins, affluent householders, rich with abundant wealth and grain, because they have been born, are not free from aging and death. Even those monks who are arahants, whose taints are destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached their own goal, utterly destroyed the fetters of existence, and are completely liberated through final knowledge. Even for them, this body is subject to breaking up, subject to being laid down. The sutta says, SN 3:3, the beautiful chariots of king wear out, the body too undergoes decay. But the Dhamma of good does not decay, so the good proclaim along with good. So this is basically the sutta says. I think I will pause here.
Maybe you can read all three suttas and then we can pause.
Okay, right. The next sutta, the simile of mountain. So interesting sutta actually. At Savatthi, in middle of the day, King Pasenadi of Kosala approached the Blessed One and paid homage to him and sat down one side, and Blessed One then asked him, now where are you coming from, great king, in the middle of the day? The king The king replied, just now, Venerable Sir, I have been engaged in those affairs of kingship typical for kings who are intoxicated with the intoxication of sovereignty, who are obsessed by greed for sensual pleasures, who have attained stable control in their country, who rule having conquered a great sphere of territory on earth. What do you think, great king? Suppose a man would come to you from east, one who is trustworthy and reliable, and would tell you, for sure, great king, you should know this. I am coming from the east, and there I saw a great mountain, high as the clouds, coming this way, crushing all living beings. Do whatever you think should be done, great king. Then the second man would come to you from the west, and the third man from the north, and the fourth man from the south. One who is trustworthy and reliable would tell you, for sure, great king, you should know this. I am coming from south. There I saw a great mountain. I has the clouds coming this way, crushing all living beings. Do whatever you think should be done, great king. If, great king, such a great peril should arise, such a terrible destruction of human life, the human state being so difficult to obtain, what should be done? If, Venerable Sir, such a great peril should arise, such a terrible destruction of human life, the human state being so difficult to obtain, what else should be done but to live by Dhamma, to live righteously and to do wholesome and meritorious deeds? Bhagavan says, I inform you, great king, I announce to you, great king, aging and death are rolling in on you. When aging and death are rolling in on you, great king, what should be done? As aging and death are rolling in on me, Venerable Sir, what else should be done but to live by Dhamma, to live righteously, and to do wholesome and meritorious deeds? Venerable Sir, king intoxicated with intoxication of sovereignty, obsessed by greed for sensual pleasures, who have attained stable control in their country and rule over great spare of territory, conquer by means of elephant battles, cavalry battles, chariot battles, and infantry battles, but there is no hope of victory by such battles, no chance of success when aging and death are rolling in. In this royal court, Venerable Sir, there are counselors who, when the enemies arrive, are capable of dividing them by subterfuge, but there is no hope of victory by subterfuge, no chance of success when aging and death are rolling in this royal court, Venerable Sir. There exists abundant bullion and gold stored in vaults and lofts. With such wealth, we are capable of mollifying the enemies when they come. But there is no hope of victory by wealth, no chance of success when aging and death are rolling in. As aging and death are rolling in on me, Venerable Sir, what else should I do but live by Dhamma, live righteously, and do wholesome and meritorious deed? Bhagavan says, so it is, great king. So it is, great king. As aging and death are rolling in on you, what else should you do but live by the Dhamma, live righteously, and do wholesome and meritorious deeds? This is what the Blessed One said. Having said this, Fortunate One, the teacher, further said this: just as mountains of solid rocks, massive, reaching to the sky, might draw together from all sides, crushing all in four quarters, so aging and death come rolling over living beings. Tatyas, Brahmins, Vaishyas, Saddhas, outcasts, scavengers, they spare none along the way but come crushing everything. There is no hope, therefore, victory by elephant troops, chariots, and infantry. One cannot defeat them by subterfuge, or by them off by means of wealth. Therefore, a person with wisdom here, out of regard for his own good, steadfast, should settle faith in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. When one conducts oneself by Dhamma with body, speech, and mind, they prize 1 year in the present life, and after death, one rejoice in heaven. This is SN 3.25. Sutta. Banteji, can I pause here or can I go to a next one, or it will be too heavy to gross once
Yeah,
again?
maybe. Good idea.
Sorry?
Good idea. Please pause.
Yeah. So, both sutta basically mentions about the aging and death and the mindful person, what he should do in this. The king Pasanedi visits Bhagwan and he asks this question actually: is anyone born free from aging? For in that context, he says even wealthy man or the arahant who has uh, discharged the taints and who lived holy life, so the body is going to break up. So that is basically the first sutta says about. And the second sutta is a simile which has given where the we are approaching the aging and death in all aspects. So what one should do, that's the simile of someone coming from east, west, north, and south, and he's saying this: the age is passing away, and we are approaching the death like a mountain moving or clouds coming this way and crushing all the living beings. So what one should do. So that is the simile is given here. Um, yeah. So also it says the human state of being is so difficult to obtain. So one should live Dhamma life and righteous and do the wholesome and meritorious deeds. That is a message is also given here. And king also explain how the intoxicated with sovereignty and sensual pleasures, uh, winning over using various means of whether elephant battles or chariot battles and infantry battles. With all this will give happiness or stop anything on the aging and the death, and there is no hope of the victory by wealth and no chance of success when aging and death is rolling over. So that is the message is given here.
I just have a small comment here. I'm intrigued by the fact that King Pasenadi asked Bhagwan, is anyone free from birth and death? That's a very interesting question coming from a king. Just intrigued there. Very innocent question.
कुछ
Yeah.
उम्मीद थी ना सुरेंद्र जी, उसको कुछ उम्मीद थी कि कुछ यार कुछ कर देगा, कुछ हो जाएगा.
Most probably this was in the background of the prevailing notion of devatas who are
Immortal.
immortal.
अच्छा.
Maybe in that context he's saying.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So is there something that Pasenadi was particularly sort of deluded? वही बेचारे ये वाली बातें बोल रहे हैं.
Maybe this must be because of he seems to be
Quite okay.
quite okay.
हाँ, अच्छा.
I think the reason must be the prevailing notion that they are the
Immortal.
immortal. He didn't put that question in those words. And about some rishis also it is said in Indian context. There are 7 immortals. In Indian scripture was about Chiranjeevi Haran. What name they given? Ashwatthama.
So even in our Vedic system, even in the human realm, there is some immortality.
Imparted by in the Mahabharata and Ramayana mentioned in the Ashwatthama is cursed to be immortal. And Hanuman is there. We find him in different eons. We find him in Ramayana, we find him in Mahabharata. And this is the other footnotes.
And this squares quite well with the Bodhisattva concept that then emerges in Mahayana Darshan. Huh?
I have a question. In the last, it says when one conducts oneself by Dhamma with body, speech, and mind, they praise one here in the present life, and after death, one rejoices in heaven. These are the words of Buddha.
Yeah.
And the point of all of this is to go beyond.
Giving a teaching to a person who is king. See, that's why he read in the beginning also. We generally believe that he will tell people to teach them about going beyond the cycle of birth and death. His teaching doesn't start from there.
हाँ बट उसके आगे तो वो कह रहे थे कि it's about wholesome and unwholesome deeds के बारे में बताएंगे. But जो इंसान already immortality ढूंढ रहा है उसके लिए तो ये isn't this like a
This is your assumption on the basis of the question, right? If one is searching for immortality, even remain a king. The question is more like curiosity or this prevailing this notion of immortals in living in earth is still there in our temple. Now we find people who have seen Ashwatthama praying in a temple in Varanasi. These stories exist even today. And the TV channels go to see
Search for him, huh?
They put cameras and all that in search of finding him. And this is as contemporary as few years back. So there's some temple in which the priest cleans everything, and when he comes and closes the door, when he comes back morning, there are flowers. And who's putting? So they said somebody. So the belief is that Ashwatthama comes at night and does it. So these TV people put cameras and all that to gauge it. And as it happens, he puts flowers on her. This kind of stories are, I mean, people still have that belief. You see. That is the point.
And there is a movie also. California. This song. Should sound right.
Okay. Bantaji, can we move the next sutta?
I think it's almost time now, so
Yeah.
Can do some chanting.
Yeah. Over to you, Nikhilji.
Over to you, Bante ji, for Parikta part.
Chanting करते करते time की थोड़ी 5 मिनट
हरिवंश
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
What do you want?
ठीक है, that's it.
चलो पूनम will lead the मैत्री चाहिए आपको चाहिए Note करो फिर
कल्याण
सार्वभौमिक कल्याण का विवेच वंदनयन्निता वर्णन करो से आए मैत्री भावना को सभी ओर व्याप्त करे अहम सुखी तो मैं सुखी हूँ दुख से मुक्त वैर से मुक्त द्वेष से मुक्त चिंता से मुक्त मैं सुखपूर्वक अपना संरक्षण कर सकूं सब पे सत्ता सुखिता सब पे सत्ता अमेरा सब पे सत्ता अध्यापचम सब पे सत्ता अनिका सर्वे सत्ता सुखी अत्तानंद हरिहरन
सभी प्राणी सुखी हो, सभी प्राणी वैर से मुक्त हो, सभी प्राणी द्वेष से मुक्त हो, सभी प्राणी चिंता से मुक्त, सभी प्राणी सुखपूर्वक अपना संरक्षण कर सके। सब पे सत्ता सब दुख सब पे सत्ता लत संपत्ति सभी प्राणी सभी दुखों से मुक्त हो, सभी प्राणियों की संपत्ति उनसे दूर हो। सब पे सत्ता कम मस्का कम मदाया कम योनि कम बंधु कम पटिशरण यंतम कर संति कल्याण तस्तदायादा अभिसंति। सभी प्राणी अपने कर्मों के स्वामी, कर्म ही उनकी विरासत है, कर्म ही उनकी योनि, कर्म ही उनका बंधु है, कर्म ही उनकी शरण। जैसे भी कर्म करेंगे कुशल अथवा कुशल वही उनकी विरासत बने। समाप्त।
अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवान् बुद्धां भगवता अभिवादये। आत्मातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक्तसंघो संघं
आए सभी मिलकर बंदे जी को प्रणाम करें। प्रथम प्रणाम, द्वितीयंपि, तृतीयम्।
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Prakash.
Prakash ji, thank you.